Good evening and welcome back to the Franchise Time Machine. Today we're going to be doing a roster build for a Father's Day simulation that'll feature the all-time great father-son uh, duos that have played Major League Baseball. So um, I think most people like the story about how the Griffeys got to play together. Um, I think they even got a base hit in the same game. Um, and other father son duos have been able to play together as well. I think Tim Raines and his son, but those always involve one player kind of at the beginning of their career, and the son at the beginning of their career, and the father kind of at the end of their career. So I thought it'd be cool to bring them together in the primes of their careers, pick their peak seasons, and put them on a team. So 26-man roster will have 13 father son pairings and play them in the 2023 season. So we're gonna build that roster today, and I've already got it started, and so we'll work with that. I think it's really a matter of kind of cutting down the roster to 26. The reason I want to do 13 pairings too is I want to make sure that we're picking father son duos that can both kind of carry their weight on the roster. Because I think there are a lot of father son pairings where one is significantly better than the other, and so that's not what I want to have on this team. So, um, I don't think there are many where it's pretty equal, but I think, for example, the Griffeys and the Bonds families, I think in those pairings, the sons are clearly the better players, have the better career statistics, but the fathers are also really good in their primes, and so it's not too mismatched compared to maybe like Yogi Berra and Dale Berra, where you would definitely want Yogi Berra on your team. I don't necessarily know that you'd have a roster spot for Dale Berra if it wasn't for the fact that you're trying to get his dad on your team. So, keeping that in mind, that's kind of that's one of the big limiting factors on who we can pick. We want to be able to roster both, and we need to fill out a roster. So we need to have enough pitchers, enough catchers. Second basemen also tend to be an issue in putting these rosters together, and maybe to a lesser extent left fielders. But having make sure we can get to 12 pitchers. We'll be playing in a 2023 run environment, and having two catchers is going to be part of the focus of this. All right, so let me let me pull up what I've already got started here. There we go. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I've got way too many players, way too many father-son duos, so we can do a lot of trimming. So the color code is green is for pairings that I'm leaning towards including. Yellow are the ones that are kind of on the outside looking in, but still under consideration. And the ones that aren't highlighted um, have either I've already considered and kind of um, eliminated, or haven't considered closely enough yet because we don't really have the need for more people, or especially in those positions. So, for example, Jose Cruz and Jose Cruz Jr. They're both outfielders, and given we already have two Griffeys and two Bonds who play outfield, and then let me scroll further down here. I mean, the outfield's already pretty crowded, so I don't know that we can add two more outfielders because some of the other father son duos have an outfielder and a non outfielder. So we want to have the roster flexibility to add those couples as well. So far, the Griffeys and the Bonds Bobby Witt Jr. and his father, Bobby Witt Sr., being a pitcher helps because Bobby Witt Jr. can play shortstop, which is a need position. And then Bobby Witt is a pitcher. We need 12 pitchers. So even though um, he had control problems throughout his career, he's still a live arm that we could use on the roster. Right now, leaning towards having both Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Vlad Guerrero Sr. in. It helps that Jr. can play third base, which is not as much of a need position as shortstop, but it's helpful that you can play both corner infield spots. Um, the Boone family is interesting. So I think we definitely want Bob Boone because he plays catcher. Right now, I have all four of them in. I have Ray Boone and his son Bob Boone in. Ray Boone played left side of the infield, which helps. Again, Bob Boone catches, that helps. But then Bob Boone's sons, Brett Boone and Aaron Boone, play infield. So we may end up taking all three generations of the Boone family there because it helps fill out the infield and gives us a catcher. And then I think the Bigios are also almost definitely in. Kevin Biggio gives us some roster flexibility because he's playing lots of positions early in his career. He's probably not as good offensively as he'll probably one of the weaker players offensively so far, but his roster flexibility and the fact that his father Craig can catch and also played second base. Second base is another need position in these rosters often. Um, I think they're probably going to be a lock. And then because we need pitching, the Stottlemyers, Mel, and Todd are almost definitely in. The Alomar family is interesting. The father, Sandy Alomar, played middle infield, but we'd really want to get his son, Roberto Alomar, to play second base for us. His other son, Sandy Jr., caught, and we know catcher's a need position. So really, I think we'd like to have the two sons. I think the dad might be the weak point there, and also having three people might cause the math to not work out because if everyone else is pairs, then having three would either have us at 25 or 27. So 25, we're wasting a spot, and 27 is too many. The Bellingers are interesting. I think if you take a peak Cody season, it's definitely probably worth taking an outfield spot or a first base spot. And his dad was more of a utility player, which actually might play in his favor because we'll probably have a few position holes we'll need to fill. Steve and Dizzy Trout, we're always looking for pitchers. It helps that Steve's a left-hander, so they're right now I'm leaning strongly towards having them in. Uh, Prince and Cecil Fielder are interesting. Having two big power bats like that would help, but it's not great that they both play first base. Of course, one could DH. They're both right-handed bats, so as of right now, I think they're on the outside looking in. Bo Bichette and Dante Bichette, if it weren't for Bobby Witt Jr., I think there'd be a stronger case for the Bichettes because Bo plays shortstop and Dante would be a good outfield bat. But as I mentioned before, the outfield's probably going to be crowded, so that makes a tougher case for Dante. And while we do need shortstop or infield depth, I'm not quite sure that the Bichettes will get on the team. Um, Dalton Varsho and Gary Varsho, it helps that Dalton plays catcher, but again, they'd be adding like one and a half outfielders to a crowded outfield. The holidays would have been an easier ad if Jackson hadn't been playing so poorly, and I think he's already gotten sent down. So it makes it a tougher case to put him on this team. His his player profile for 20, he'll be in the 20, I guess the 2024 data set for OTP 25 will probably still be pretty strong, but I don't necessarily that I want to rely on the fact that he had, a stronger card in the game because of expectations and put him on when we know in reality he's not really hasn't really worked out this season. Jackson Holiday has great positional roster flexibility, which I really like to have on the team, but I don't think it's probably not going to work out for him. But I'm planning to do this every year. So, you know, if he get if he gets called back up and performs well, I think it'd be interesting to have the holidays on the team. Um, Drew Jones would be great to get Andrew Jones on the team, but Drew hasn't played in the majors yet, I don't think. And so, from the kind of rule I mentioned earlier, I don't want to have the case where we have like kind of an empty roster spot just because we really want the father or the son that goes with that spot. Same reason that Yogi Berra, Tony Gwynn are not going to be on the roster. For the lighters, we do need pitching, but Jack and Mark Jr. I don't think have pitched well enough to get a spot. The Mondeses were interesting before when I thought we have almost no infielders. I think there was a better case for the son, um, who had a relatively short major league career, but had kind of statistically um, some statistical seasons you can make a case for adding to this team. But right now, I think I have. Well, there'll be an ad if we really need that infield flexibility. And with Raul Mondesi, the father, I think, like I said, we have plenty of outfielders to pick from. Um, Fernando Tatis Jr. and Sr., they're definitely in. It helps that Sr. plays third base and Jr., depending on the season we pick, I'd almost definitely pick a shortstop season for him because we already have enough outfielders. So that gives us shortstop, third base options, which are super valuable for this roster build. Um, Earl Averill Sr. and Jr., catcher and a center fielder. This is where I think if we can't get enough catchers, so there are plenty of catchers in the pool that we can, so just below them on the list, you can see the Hunleys, for example, but it may not work out to add enough of those duos that we have two catchers. And so if it works out that way, then the Averils would be a way to do that. I also like the idea of adding a little kind of chronological variety to the roster. So there would be an option there. Vern Law and Vance Law, right now they're in because we need pitching. And so Vern gives us that. Um, You know what I'm noticing for a lot? I think I need to change the headers. I think I've been mostly putting the sons on the left side and the fathers on the right. But the reason I noticed that is because I flip-flopped Vince and Vern and Vance because Vern should be over here and Vance should be over here. But the point is, it helps that it gets us a pitcher in the father Vern, and it helps that Vance played a lot of infield spots in his career, so he'll give us some flexibility. The Hunleys, because they're a two catcher family, they were only going to make the team, I think, if we had zero catchers. But the fact that we have the Bigios, I think I'd rather not carry three catchers, so they're probably out. Again, the Matthews suffer from the outfield being crowded. Same for the McRays. Also, hurting the McRays case a little bit is that Hal played DH a lot during his career, and I think we need more roster and position flexibility than carrying a DH. The Sizzlers would have been a great way to get a Hall of Famer onto the roster, and it'd be fun to say Dick Sizzler during um, the coverage. But I think first base is probably going to be as crowded as the outfield, and only has one spot versus three for the outfield. So I don't think they're going to make this team. The Bannisters feel like a no-brainer because we do need the pitching. So Floyd and Brian Bannister. It also helps that Floyd's a lefty, and so that gives us another lefty where we don't have a lot of options there. I really would have liked to add the Clemens family here. A peak Roger Clemens season really anchor the rotation, but Cody Clemens just hasn't done enough in the majors where I could make a case that like he has a legit claim on especially on a first base spot on the roster. If his career works out, I think this would be a good duo to add down the road. Um, for the a lot of these families, the um, the sons didn't really play enough or play well enough. So, for example, the Draybecks and the Burrows. Um, the Gordons, though, Tom Gordon, a right-handed pitcher, he has some good seasons we can pick from. I think that he gives a lot of innings in the rotation. And his son, D. Strange Gordon, I think he even led the league in a few categories. So I think he's pretty easy to add. If we do need bullpen help, both Harveys, Hunter and Brian, pitched out of the bullpen in their careers. Brian had the stronger career, but I think Hunter had a strong enough season that it would be easy to pick that as his peak. And he did, I think his career did span 5 or 6 seasons, so I'd feel okay having him on the team. But um, I think Brian Harvey would be the reason, but I think that peak Hunter Harvey season isn't bad. I think it'd be okay to add that in. Um, I before when I thought we would need more help at third base, the Hayes family made more sense, but at this point, I don't think we need two third basemen, so they're probably out. Um, the Wright family is interesting. Clyde Wright, who I only know through Perfect Team, is a left-handed pitcher, and I know his son Jared Wright. I think his career didn't quite work out the way people had hoped, but I checked his stats, and he does have a couple of seasons we can pick from that would be good. Um, Unfortunately, Pudge's son Derek only pitched briefly in the major leagues. Otherwise, it would have been great to have Pudge Rodriguez as our catcher. The Bagbies are on here because they were both pretty good pitchers in the majors, and we need pitching. So they're the same with the McCullers. Um, Neither of them were great, but they also were pretty good and good enough, I think, that they can help round out the pitching staff. And then if we do need more pitching, I think the Navarros might give us a good option. Although I think uh, Julio Navarro's stats were kind of borderline, but I did like that his nickname was Whiplash, which is one of the better nicknames I've seen recently. So I think if we add up all the green right here, the other thing is I kind of want to do a scan to make sure we're not missing anyone, especially like someone obvious. Um, but yeah, so I'm just going to count the pairings because we'll just double it and see where we are relative to 26. So the colors, the Bagbies, the Wrights, the Gordons, the Bannisters, the Laws, the Tatises, the Trouts, the Stottlemyers, the Bigios, 3 generations of Boone. So that's two pairings. The Guerreros, the Wits, the Bonds, the Griffeys. So I think that's 16 pairings, which means 32 players. So we're 6 players over. So we have to do some cutting. So let's start with pitchers and see within that 32. So we have 30, 16 pairs, 32 players. All right, let's see how many pitchers we have. Bobby Witt Sr., 2 Stottlemyers, 2 Trouts. We're up to 5. Hey, Nolan Network podcast. Welcome back to the stream. Yeah, I'm working on a roster for a Father's Day sim where I want to bring father sons together with their peak seasons, um, and do that sim on either the night before Father's Day or the night of Father's Day. I just like the idea of like, with the Griffeys, it was fun to see them play together, but one was on the decline and one was still yet to reach his peak. I thought it'd be great to be able to bring father son duos together, both in their prime. So that's what I'm working on tonight. Um, One of the roster rules I'm setting is that both the father and the son have to be on the roster, and since we only have 26 spots, that means 13 father son duos can make the roster. So outfield to be pretty crowded. I'm worried about having enough pitching, so some really good father-son pairings are probably not going to make it because we have to bring in some pitchers who maybe are not as celebrated or um, famous or even good as some of the players we're going to have to leave out of the roster. But we need to fill all the spots, so that's just how it's going to be. I think, as usual with these kinds of things, catcher, second base, and sometimes left field are going to be tough. Um, it's probably also why we're probably going to have to stretch and pick some of the younger players who are sons of major leaguers because they have some good positional coverage. Did any of Clemens get so yeah? So Cody Clemens is playing first base right now. Unfortunately, he hasn't played a ton, and his stats aren't very good. So I think he's going to fall in the Dale Berra, Yogi Berra category of, um, you know, I don't want to take the son, who's just going to be kind of a hole in the roster, just to get the father. I think there are some other pairings where they both carry their weight a little bit better, and so I'm leaning towards that. But yeah, I thought one of the first things I looked up was Cody Clemens' stats because I was hoping to get Roger Clemens on the team. So I counted up the pairings in green are the ones that I'm leaning towards putting in. The ones in yellow are the ones that are kind of in consideration, but right now on the outside looking in. And if they're not highlighted, right now they're kind of out of the running. So I counted up, and there's 16 pairs of players that are highlighted in green. So there's 32 players. So we need to basically cut 6 players while still making sure we have positional coverage. So the first thing I was adding up the pitchers. So there's Bobby Witt Sr. How many total pitchers? That's what I'm counting because I want to see if we need to if any of the cuts can come from pitching or if all the cuts are going to have to come from position players. So there's Bobby Witt Sr., there's the two Stottlemyers, there's the two Trouts, so we're up to 5. There's Vern Law, so that's 6. The Bannisters make it 8. Tom Gordon makes it 9. The Wrights make it 11. The Bagbies make it 13. And then the McCullers make it 15. Okay, good. So we can cut some pitchers, not just position players. So I'm just going to put some notes here. So we have 16 pairs of players, 32 players, 15 pitchers. That means we have 17 position players. Okay, so the first thing we could do is cut 3 pitchers. So that probably will probably require cutting one father son pitcher duo, and then one of these duos or one of the two is a pitcher. I mean no. The first place my mind goes is to maybe cut the Bagbies just because I'm not as familiar with their careers. But when I looked up their stats, like they're both like they might have both won 100 games, so they're both good pitchers. So I don't know if I want to go there right away just because I'm not as familiar with them. Um, but as far as because we have an odd number, the options for cutting just one pitcher to make it even again are the Gordons, with D. Strange Gordon playing infield and outfield, and Tom Gordon, probably one of our starters, or Vern Law and Vance Law. So I thought Vance Law was going to be more important when I didn't think we'd have enough position coverage. But because we have the Tatises, the Bigios, and the Boons, I do think we have enough infield coverage. So I think Vern Law and Vance Law can go. So I'm going to take them back to yellow. They're no longer on the team. So now we just cut 2 players and 2 pitchers. So we're down to 15 pairs. I don't want to lose this yet, but okay. So pitchers. So we had 15 before. Position players. We had 17 before. So now with our cuts, we lost Vance and Vern. So that's 14 and 16. Okay. Let me just put a sum here. All right, so we have 30 players now. Got to cut four more. Well, the other thing is, Nolan, can you think of any father-son couplings that I'm missing? I can scroll through this list a bit if you want to check it out, but I'm going to. All right, so now we can just cut one pitcher pairing. The Trouts are also an option, but Steve Trout's one of the few lefties we have, so I'd rather not do that. The Banners that I want to have on the team just in general because they both had pretty good careers, and also Floyd gives us a lefty, so I don't want to touch that. Same with the rights, Clyde gives us a lefty, so I do think it's going to come down to the Bagbies and the McCullers. So let me just refresh my memory on BREF. I'll share BREF here in a second. It's still set on Todd Zeal from last night's sim. So let me change that. So last night's sim was for the most for the players with some of the highest franchise totals. So Edwin Jackson, Octavio Dotel, Todd Zeal, and Matt Stairs, and taking different year profiles from each of them to fill the whole roster. So we took six Edwin Jacksons, six Octavio Dotels, seven Todd Zeals, and seven Matt Stairs, and played the 2023 season with them. All right, so I wanted to look up. Um, First, look up the big bees, or is it the bag bees? The bag bees. That's what it was. All right, Jim and Jim Bagby. So here's the elder Bagby, 127 and 89, 3.11 career ERA, and has some really solid seasons to pick from as far as what year profile we take. Most likely this 1920 season where he won 31 games, led the league in games, complete games, innings pitched, um, and had a 1.228 WHIP to go with a 2.89 ERA. So that's a, I mean, there's an era difference, but that's a great season. And then on the Sun, so Jim won 100 games, which helps. Oh, the other thing you can do is within their profile, it'll say relative, so we can just click on father. Right here, it'll say relatives, father of Jim, so we can just click right to Jim through here. So here's his son, Jim Bagby. Looks like a little more fun than his dad from the profile picture. Um, he won 97 games in his career, it's over 500, but you know, almost 100 games, sub 4 ERA, and he has several 15 plus win seasons that we could pick from. I think in particular this he was an all-star in 1942 and 1943. So it looks like he was playing before the war, but then he had his best seasons during the war. Um, and probably the best of those was this 1942 year where he went 17 and 9, 2.96 ERA, 12.23 whip. So I mean the backbeats feel like must keeps. Those are two really solid um, stat lines to pull into the game. So then the next pairing we have to look at, I think, is the McCullers. I'm more familiar with the dad actually, but so mostly pitching out of the bullpen. 28 and 31, 306 appearances with only 9 starts, 39 saves. So I mostly remember his peak seasons being with San Diego and the Yankees. Um, let's see. If you go by saves, this 87 season's the best. If you go by whip, we're probably looking at first seasons is too short. This season's also kind of short. The best kind of 80 plus inning season would be 86, 10 and 10, 70 games, 7 starts, 5 saves, 278. So okay, so that's a good season. It's not a 30 or 17 win season, but it's still pretty solid. And then let's see. Let's click on his son. I didn't realize till I was researching this too that Lance McCullers Jr. I don't know if he's retired, but he hasn't pitched since 2022 in the league. So I thought he was still knocking around. I know he had a hard time staying healthy during his career, but he did make one All-Star team. So if we were to go with that season, that's a 7-4 season, uh, 22 games, all as a starter, with a 4.25 ERA and a 12.98 WHIP. If we go by the best statistical season, we're probably looking at it's not his lowest WHIP season, but in 2021 he went 13 and 5 with the Astros, 3.16 ERA, 1.220 WHIP, and he led the league in hits per nine and home runs per nine. So I think we'd probably go with that season. So I mean, these are both good seasons. So I think it's hard to pick from those. But the rights give us a lefty, which I think was, well, ironically, the rights give us a lefty. So I think we need to keep them. And I can't see cutting the banisters. So, I mean, the Trouts are probably the least accomplished. But again, Steve gives us a lefty. But I think we need to revisit Steve and Dizzy. But if we could just pick which of these to cut, we are very close to being done. Okay. This was largely on the strength of Dizzy's career, 170 wins, 3.23 career ERA. Also, so out of the 521 games he pitched, 322 were starts. The rest were in relief, and he had 37 saves to go with those 170 wins. Lots of seasons to choose from. Had a long career. Two 20 win seasons are probably the ones we'd pick from. He led the league in the most categories in 1944, where he was an All-Star. So this season, compares pretty well to the the elder Jim Bagby season. So that's kind of a wash there. So let's scroll back up and go check out his son's profile. And I've done this, but I want to refresh my memory before I make these cuts. So yeah, Steve Trout, I remember him pitching for the Cubs. And he also pitched for the White Sox, and those are the two clubs where I think he had the best success. So we'll be looking at those stat lines. Um, I mean, win percentage wise, we're looking at this 1984 season when he went 13-7, 3.41 ERA, but kind of a high 1389 WHIP. He has another winning season here at 11-8, but his WHIP was even higher that year, 1445. So yeah, I think we're looking at this 84 season. So they're not going to look too different from the Bagbies. The benefit though is that Steve's a lefty. We don't have a lot of lefties. In fact, if we go back to the list, I think it's just Steve Trout, Floyd Bannister, and Clyde Wright. So we have three lefties. If we keep all the lefties, we have three out of 12. So I think it's pretty important that we not drop any of those lefties. Um, I mean, stat wise, well, if we're gonna keep the lefties, then I think it comes down to the Bagbies or the McCullers. And the Bagbies just had better seasons than the McCullers. So even though I'd like to keep them because I'm more familiar with their careers, I think we're gonna have to drop the McCullers for now. But the good thing is that gives us down to we're now down to 14 pairs of players, and we're down to 12 pitchers, which is where we want to be. So now we just have to cut one pair of batters, and then we can start actually like putting the final roster together. Um, okay. If we have enough infield flexibility or enough infield players, I wouldn't be opposed to cutting the third generation of Boone, so Brett and Aaron. Partly because I think giving one family four roster spots is a bit much. But initially, I thought we had to have Brett and Aaron to fill those infield spots. But the more I dug, the more infielders I found. So I think it's possible to do it without the Boone, the third generation Boones. So let's just see what that would look like if we did that. We'd have Vlad and Ray Boone at short at third. We'd have Bobby Witt Jr. and Ray Boone at short. So we have depth there. Um, I think second base is going to be the problem without. Oh, we also have Fernando Tatis Jr. at short, so we're good there. Second base is going to be the problem. Okay, I think D. Okay, D. Strange Gordon, I know played second base, so we have a second baseman there, but we need a backup. So who could back up a second? Oh, I guess Craig Biggio could be. Actually, Craig might be able to play full time second base because we'd have Bob Boone at catcher, and he was a really strong defensive catcher, so he might start at catcher. And then do we have a second catcher? Okay, so no, Biggio. Okay, Biggio could be our starting second baseman and backup catcher. The problem is when Biggio has to catch, who plays second? And I think Cavan has played some second base. Let's just check that out to make sure. Cavan Biggio. Okay, yeah, it even says here he's second baseman, right fielder, and third baseman. So in the stats, okay, yeah. So you can see here lots of positional coverage For his second, so if let's say we were to pull the 2023 season, not his best offensively, but he played second base, right field, first base, third base, and shortstop. So hopefully his card would reflect that. The only other season where he had as much roster flexibility would be this 2020, the COVID shortened 2020 season. It's his highest OPS season at 807. Um, and he played second, right, third, center, which is nice, and left. But he did not play shortstop that year. I don't think we need to worry about shortstop though, because with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Bobby Witt Jr. and also Ray Boone could chip in there too. I think we're good at shortstop. And then outfield spots, center field is also a worry, but we've got Ken Griffey Jr. can play center or did play center, and oh, I think D. Strange Gordon did too. Let's just check on him. I just want to confirm that D. Strange Gordon played both second base and center field. Yep, second base, shortstop, center field. Perfect. Okay, so I think we can drop the Boone, the third generation of Boones. So that's Brett and Aaron. Okay, awesome. So now, so what I did is I flipped Brett and Aaron from green to yellow. So they're still in the consideration set in case we need to make changes. I want to make sure their names still stand out. But I also like the idea that we're down to two Boons instead of four. Um, so we're now down to 13 pairings and 14 position players, which is exactly where we want to be. Great. So now I have a so I have this blank version of the template that I can use to uh, fill in the players to actually build the roster. So let me go back to that version. Let me go back to that version in a second here. Okay. All right. So let's start with catcher. Let's just put Bob Boone in there for starters. And let's find his peak season. And while we're here, I'm going to grab his player ID number, which in Baseball Reference you can find in the URL. It's these seven letters and the number. So just to avoid any typos, I'm just going to copy and paste that in. Okay, these two fields, the player ID and the year, are the ones we're going to need in the text file we're going to use to import this roster. So that's why I put them next to each other in the spreadsheet. Okay, Bob Boone. Let's find his best years. A good place to start might be his All-Star years. That's a pretty long career. Um, I was mostly following baseball towards the tail end of his career, so I didn't get to see him at his peak. But All-Star seasons in 76, 78, 79, and 83. So I think that's a good starting point. And I think OPS is usually a good check for that. Also, BREF has awards here, so you can see that he was 23rd in MVP voting and then 16th in MVP voting. So I think that's a good reflection too. So this year he had a 772 OPS, second highest in his career to the year before in 77. He also won the Gold Glove that year. So that's what I remember. So I was mostly following baseball here in the 80s, where he had a string of, excuse me, four straight Gold Gloves in the American League here, um, with California and Kansas City. So that's what I remember. I remember him as a Gold Glove catcher. Let's also jump down to, well, let's see if he had any higher OPS seasons. He has a 739 down here, 789 in 97. Okay, 79 looks like a good one. He was an all-star. He had his highest OPS. He won a Gold Glove, 286 average, highest on base percentage I can see. So I would say either this one or the 1970 season where he had his highest home run total and made a appearance near the bottom of the MVP voting. I mean, either one works. They're both at Philly, which is I never would have thought of him as a Philly, but he looks like he played almost 10 years there. So let's see if there are there any other stats that might push us in one direction or the other. He- it's interesting. Both seasons he played 132 games, had exactly 495 plate appearances. So they are pretty comparable seasons. Um, he had more doubles in 77, although his 78 gives us some flexibility. He played first base and left field. Although in 97 he played a little third base. I mean, statistically, it seems like the 77 season's better, but the 78 season, the one where he got into the All-Star game and the Gold Glove, his first Gold Glove. I think for now we're gonna pull his 78 season. Probably because it's his career high home run season. He got some MVP voting. It's his first Gold Glove. So let's go 78. All right, so he's with the Phillies that year, and we're pulling the 1978 season, which was his age 30 season. Um, his stat line that year was 283 slash 347 slash 425 for an OPS of, he didn't lead the league anything, but we'll put All Star MVP 23rd and first Gold Glove. Okay. So then who is our at least nominal starting first baseman? Um, I need to add a view here. So I need to make one change here. Add a window. Okay. So I'm going to toggle between the the spreadsheet where we're tracking everyone and the spreadsheet where we have all of our kind of notes. So for starting first baseman, there's Vlad Guerrero Jr. There's is that it? I mean, not that he's a bad option, but do we just have one first baseman? Yeah. Okay. So I guess by default, Vlad Jr. is our starting first baseman. All right. So let's figure out which of his seasons we want. And we have to pick a season where he has five in his position column because he needs to play first base for us. So, for example, the 2022 season's out. I didn't realize he didn't play first base that. Oh no, he did. He didn't play third base that season. Okay, so we're fine there. I mean, it seems like we go with the black ink, right? The 2021 season, he led the league in runs, home runs, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, and total bases. It seems like a no-brainer. So let's grab that 2021 season. Toronto Blue Jays. Let's grab that BREF number. So he's an O2, of course, because his dad was O1. So let me paste that in here. And we're taking the 2021 season, which was his age 22. Man, only 22 years old in 2021. I keep forgetting how young some of these sons of major leaguers are. So he's only in his age 25 season right now, but it feels like he's been around forever. Um, so his stat line that year was 311, 401, 601 for an OPS of 1.02. He led the league in runs, home runs, on base, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, and total bases. Yeah, that's a heck of a year. Okay, now at second base, this is where I think we're going to have to go with Craig Biggio. So let's pick out which season. Now this is one where we definitely have to be careful which year we pick because if we need him to start at second base, but we also need backup catcher ability, we got to find a season that his offense is good and also has those positions um in his stat line here. All right, so we're looking for a two and a four. So this is when he was still only playing catcher. This is when he was only playing second base. Oh man, we may not get an overlap. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing BREF. Let me show BREF. So this is Biggio's career stats. I'm not seeing a season where he had a two and a four. So two for catcher and four for second baseman. He made the switch in 1992, but then did not catch again until 2007, where I'm sure it was some sort of like farewell tour gimmick. Um, and we don't want that 66 on base or OPS anyway. All right, so here's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to do what we did with Jackie Robinson. Is we know he's a good catcher, we know he's a good second baseman. So if we pick a catcher year, I'll go into editor and add a second baseman capability or experience because we know he's capable. Or if we pick a second baseman year, I'll go ahead and add catching. Um, his profile should still have catching ability, even if he didn't play catcher, because the game should have just taken his experience down to zero for the seasons he didn't catch, but should still give him catcher attributes because as a player he hasn't changed so much, even though he's not catching. I'd also like to make sure then we pick a season close to 91 or 92 because those are the years he last played catcher or first played second base. So if we go by those criteria, I think this 1990, well, we could take the strike shortened 94 season. That was one of his highest OPSs, and it's just a couple years removed from when he played catcher. So if we're going to monkey with his fielding capabilities, I want to keep it as close to um, kind of time proximity to when he actually did catch. So yeah, if you take the strike shortened 94 season, it's only 2 years from when he last, 3 years from when he last caught. He was an all star. He was 16th in MVP voting. He won a gold glove at second base. Um, he led the league in doubles and steals. He had an 893 OPS, 318 average. This feels like the season because if you want to go for a more powerful offensive season, you're moving further away from when he caught. And so then you might end up looking at like here's a season when you finished your back-to-back season. He finished fourth and fifth in MVP voting, a 916 OPS and 906 OPS. But at this point, you're 6 years from when he last caught. That 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 feels weirder adding catcher to his profile then. So I think let's grab the 94 season. I feel more comfortable adding catcher to that one. So we'll do that. Let me grab his baseball reference ID number again from the URL. So we're going Houston Astros. And that was 1994. That was his age 28 season. And his slash line that year was a very impressive 318. 411, 483, for an OPS of 0.893. Led the league in doubles, stolen bases, and he was an all-star, MVP 16, and won a gold glove. Okay. Let's go third base. And let's go back to see who our options were. I think we had some choices here. So Vlad's off the board because he's starting at first. Ray Boone is an option. Tatis Sr. Oh, it would mean sitting Bobby Witt Jr., but I do like the idea of starting the Tatises on the left side of the infield. So let's pencil Tatis Sr. in at third base. That'll be fun. I like that. Fernando Tatis Sr. And let's figure out which season we want to pull for him. Let's go to baseball reference again. Fernando Tatis. All right. Interesting. No awards in for Tatis Sr. No All-Star games, no Silver Sluggers, no points in MVP voting, no placement in Rookie of the Year or anything like that. All right, let's see what we got here. If we go by OPS, it's this 99 season. It's his top home run season. He almost hit 300. Um, he only played third base, which is fine. That's what we need him for anyway. This is the only season with 100 RBI. I think this is it. So we'll grab his 1999 season. So in 1999, he was with St. Louis. Okay, we're grabbing 1999, which is his age 23 season. In some of these, we might end up pulling a father's year where he's younger than his son. That would be a lot of fun. Let's see. His stat line was 298, 404, 553, 957. Oh yeah. Yes. Okay. He didn't lead the league in anything, but that's a pretty solid stat line. Okay. Now for shortstop, let's go back to our list here, but I think it's probably going to be a race between Tatis Jr. and Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, now Tatis Jr. plays outfield, but it's hard for me to forget how exciting it was when he first came up and was playing shortstop. And I mean, he was super exciting to watch, but it's also so odd to watch because he seems so. I don't even know if he's actually tall, but because he's so lean, he looked like tall and rangy playing shortstop. Let's see how tall he actually is. Yeah, 6'3", and he was so lean, especially when he came up. It was just really interesting watching him with that build playing shortstop, and um, had tons of range. And remember seeing him on Sports Center a lot, top tens. Okay, so the switch came. I think it started in 2021. That was his. Well, he's only been in one All-Star game. I think we also should think about, do we want to pick a season that's before or after his PED suspension and injury year? I think the most impressive season is this 21 season. It was his lone All-Star appearance. He played short and right field. 975 OPS, and he led the league in home runs. So yeah, led the league in home runs. I think like seals the deal. So we'll grab the 2021 season. Oh, Tatis Jr. was 1 year younger than the father we're bringing back. So 282, 364 on base, 975. Sorry, 611 slugging. Led the league in home runs. All-Star MVP, third in MVP voting, and a slugger. Yeah, that's a great season. Now, let's just take a quick look at Bobby Witt. I don't think he has a season as impressive as that. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think we'd end up pulling his current season, right? He's leading the league in batting average, runs, and hits. But the last full season we have to pull is 2023. He did lead the league in triples and caught stealing. Uh, s- yeah, I think I don't necessarily know what 2024 profiles look like, to be 25. So I think for purposes, I think we're going to pull Bobby Witt Jr.'s 23 data. But let me fill in the starting position. While I'm on this page, I'll go ahead and we'll pull his info for the table. So we need left field, center field, right field, DH. Oops. We need a backup catcher, and then backup shortstop will be Bobby Witt Jr. Kansas City Royals. There's his player ID. And we're taking the 2023 season, which is his age 23 season. 276, 319, 369. Wait. Oh, I started mixing up years. 495. OPS 813. Okay. Okay, so we captured Bobby Witt Jr. as long as we were on his page. So then in the outfield, what do you want to do in the outfield? I mean, I think the center field is a no-brainer, right? We're going to take Ken Griffey Jr. And I think in left field it's a no-brainer. We're going to take Barry Bonds. So then who do we want to start in right field? I think it's either going to be Griffey Sr. or Bobby Bonds. Let me just make sure we're not overlooking an outfielder here. Vlad could start in right. Vlad Sr. Okay, I think it's either Vlad Sr., Bobby Bonds, or um, Ken Griffey Sr. So let's check them all out in the BRF. If we do end up starting Vlad Sr., it will be a bummer that um, Junior and Barry Bonds don't get to play in the outfield with their fathers. They'll be on the roster. One of them will probably end up DHing, but it would be fun to see them running around in the outfield together. Okay, so if we were to go Vlad Sr., his biggest home run years are 42 and 44 home runs in 1999 and 2000. His highest OPS is in 2000 at 1074. But his MVP year is down here with a 989 OPS. Or, yeah, led the league in runs scored. He still hit 39 home runs. I mean, if a guy wins the MVP, feels like we probably have to grab that season. Although statistically, that 2000 season was huge. Oh, check it out. He also got 11 triples in 2000. It's his career high in home runs, his career high in triples, double digit triples. He had 345. Again, that 1074 OPS. You know what? He didn't win the MVP this year, but I'm going to grab this 2000 season. I prefer it to the MVP season. Okay, I think for now, let's start Vlad Sr. in the outfield. Oops. Okay, so let's just grab that player. Oops. Okay, 2000 season. This is his age 25 season. And his slash line that year was a very impressive 345, 410. And he led the league in intentional walks. And he was an all-star, MVP 6. Ah, and did he win a Silver Slugger there? He sure did. Okay. All right. I like that. So this will be fun. Let's pick our favorite Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr. seasons. This is the stuff I like. All right. Barry Bonds BA01. So there's kind of two eras you have to choose between, right? Like there's the speedy five tool player with the Pirates or the home run bashing Giants. Um, I think we got to pick one of the Giants eras. Those will be the most fun to sim. Um, I'm kind of more partial to these earlier year MVP awards where I mean I don't think you can assume they're not tainted by PEDs, but maybe less likely to have been. But the fun seasons of Sim are the ones where, he was in more in the PED zone. So there's like the early wave of MVPs where he won 3 and 4 years with the Pirates and Giants, and then there's the four in a row he won with the Giants, including the year he had 73 home runs. I mean, you have some cartoonish OPS numbers topped off by a 1422 OPS in 2004. Um, it's only his third highest OPS at 1379, but that is the year he hit 73 home runs. Um, I think the big driver for that 1422. Oh, let me put BREF up. Sorry. I think the big driver of that 1422 OPS is the 232 walks he drew against only 41 strikeouts. And that includes 120 intentional walks. 120 intentional walks. All right, which one do we grab? I mean, it's hard not to take that 73 home run season. I'm going to do that. But it's tempting to take this 232 walk season. It is his highest OPS, but yeah, let's grab this 2001 season. This now makes it highly likely that Barry will be older than his dad on this team. So we're going with the San Francisco Giants. Barry, 2001, his age 36 season. What an insane slash line. Well, now I'm rethinking this because 2004, man, he had 362 and drew 232 walks and hit 45 home runs. It's hard to pass that up. But come on, 73 bombs. All right, what am I doing? Of course, we're going to take the 73 bombs. 328, 515, 863, OPS 1.379. He led the league in home runs, walks, on base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, OPS plus. Okay. Um, And I guess I've been noting it for the other players too, so I'm going to note it here that he was an All-Star, MVP, and Silver Slugger. Okay, now which junior season are we going to take? I think it's got to be a Seattle one. I don't care how well he played in Cincinnati. I think we got to grab a Seattle season, but let's see what the numbers say. All right. I mean, his MVP season was this one, 1997. 56 home runs. That's also the year we played revisionist history, was with the 97 Mariners. Um, led the league in slugging, led the league in total bases, led the league in intentional walks, led the league in RBI. This feels like it. The only other one that might be close is in 94, strike short in 94, he had 40 home runs in 111 games and had his highest OPS of his career. Um, but I think we can't ignore this massive stat line. So we'll take this 1997 version where he led the league in the most things in his career. So we'll grab that. Oh, wait, let me grab his player ID first. Okay, this is a Seattle Mariners year, and we're grabbing 1997, which was his age 27 season, and his slash line was 304, 382, 646, OPS 1028, and he led the league in runs, home runs, RBI, slugging, total bases, intentional walks. And he was an all-star, won the MVP, won a gold glove, and a silver slugger. Wow. All right. So I think let's choose the DH, and then I think I'm going to call it a night. I'll either finish up the roster offline or on another stream, and then what I want to do is um, make like some slides for each father son duo. And so on Father's Day, I'll kind of do like a reveal where I'll show these slides where each one will have the picture of the father and the son and the information on their peak season. So we'll have 13 of those, introduce the players, and then we'll put them in the 2023 season. We'll do highlights of the first game and then sim the season. But I like the idea of making those intro slides. Um, Kind of like the way EBC does for his guess the sets. So let's just pick a DH and we'll call it night. So, all right, who out of this would we want as DH? I think we can not look down here because I think further down the list is all pitchers. Let me just make sure. Oh, Yeah, because we Tatis Jr. and Senior already in the lineup. Oh, D. Strange Gordon is still down here. But other than that, and I don't think we're going to DH him because he's more of a speedster. So then, of the folks who are left, Bobby Bonds, Ray Boone, I don't think we're going to DH. Kevin Biggio, I think we're going to DH. So it's probably Griffey Sr. or Bobby Bonds. So let's see what their stat lines look like. Or if one of them won a Gold Glove, maybe we put Vlad Sr. at DH. Let's see. Well, let's see. When we brought in Vlad Sr., did he? Just checking here. He won a Silver Slugger, but not a Gold Glove. So if Bobby or Senior won a Gold Glove, maybe one of them, that person will play right field, and then Vlad Senior will move to DH. So let's see. If I just change this to 1 in the URL, is that going to take me to? Yeah, it does. Griffey Sr. All right, he did not win any Gold Gloves. Let's just real quick see if Bobby Bonds did. Okay, he won 3 Gold Gloves. So maybe we start Bobby at right. Does he have a season worthy of starting? I mean, he was the original 30-30 guy. So, yeah, look at all these steal totals 45, 48, 44, 43. Okay, so yeah, so well, we're going to go. Bobby is our. Well, so let me move some stuff around real quick. So we're going to move Vlad Sr. to DH. And looks like we'll have Bobby Bonds in right field. Let's pick out the season though, because that'll determine which team we're going to pull him from. And I did not realize he finished third and fourth in MVP voting. And those are years also where he won Gold Gloves, so that seems like a good one to pick from. Um, okay, the year he finished fourth in MVP voting, he only had 26 steals. I like the idea of taking this season where he was almost 40-40, 39 home runs and 43 stolen bases. And that's back in an era where 39 hitting 40 home runs would have been huge. He almost had 100 RBI. He led the league in total bases, led the league in runs. So yeah, let's grab this 1973 season. I like it. And he won the Gold Glove, so that all the more reason we're starting him in right field instead of at DH. So we're going San Francisco Giants. This is Bonds BA 1. This is BO. Bonds BO for Bobby 01. So why did I lose my formatting here? That's weird. Format painter. Okay. And we're taking the 1973 season, which was his. Oh, look at that. They're the same. Oh, no, no. He's the same age as Junior in this. That's interesting. Okay, what's his slash line? 283, 370. 530 for an OPS of 900 on the dot. He led the league in runs, strikeouts, total bases. He was an all-star, MVP 3, Gold Glove winner. Okay. Yeah, good call to go with that season. Or to, I mean to go with him in right field, I think. Okay, so now we're gonna start hitting the bench. I think this is a good place to stop for tonight. I didn't intend to stream super long tonight anyway. I'm just kind of tired. So maybe try to rest up and then finish up the roster probably tomorrow night, and then put it aside because I want to sim it on Father's Day, and then we'll move on to another thing tomorrow. So yeah, I think this is a good spot to stop. So let me put the episode title back up, and then we'll look for someone to stream it raid into. All right. So who is streaming out of the park? Oh, is Cheeky still streaming? All right, let's stream. Let's raid into him. He's raided into us before, so I like the idea of being able to raid back into him. Is that right? Cheeki. It sure is. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time in the Franchise Time Machine, and hope you have fun in Cheeky's stream. I don't know why this raid isn't working. Slash raid. Is it case sensitive? So I need to add an at before it? I think I just did Alf last time. It should just be Cheeky this time. Yeah. Wonder why this is not working. Hmm. For some reason, it is not letting me raid. I don't know what is going on. It also didn't let me update my episode title either. So every once in a while, Twitch does this thing where it acts like I'm not logged in. Like I can't change stuff, but at least it let me stream today. So it's not, it looks like it's not going to let me raid into Cheeky. So, hmm, I might just have to close the stream. Let me manage RAID settings. Yeah, no, this all seems normal. All right, I'm going to try a couple more times, and if it doesn't work, I will just end the stream. Well, you can let me chat? What? Okay, it did let me chat, but it's not letting me raid. Hmm. Okay, it's not letting me chat, so I'm just going to end the stream. Sorry about that.